Yeah, it was at the same time, when we got back from Rhodesia, back in South Africa, that I decided on doing my private pilot's license. As a matter of fact, I could afford it because of the job that I was doing as messenger of the court. As pilot training only cost 20 rand, 20 bucks an hour. That was instruction, fuel, plane, everything. 20 bucks an hour. And I was very lucky. I managed to get to go solo at 15 hours of flying. 15 hours of flying, and I spot on qualified for my private pilot license 40 hours. The minimum you have to have, and I qualified at 40 hours. And of course, the applicable celebrations followed that evening, right there at the Pretoria Flying Club. Now, it was at that stage that I also thought, I have to start thinking about the practical training of my legal career, which was awaiting me. What I'm what I mean by this is everybody in South Africa has to do articles of clerkship, what is probably best described as an internship. If you don't have a degree, when you start doing your articles, it is a 5-year period of clerkship that you have to do. If you have a B Juris degree, it is 3 years of clerkship. And with an LLB or a B Proc degree, it is 2 years of clerkship. But I called around, and the very first people that I managed to get an appointment with was a company with the names of Saperstein, Shapiro, and Parkroy. Okay, I did the interview with the senior partner, was a well-known defense lawyer. And on completion of the interview, when it came to making me an offer, he offered me 98 bucks per month. I thought it was funny, so I started laughing, and I saw from this guy's face, well, he is dead serious. And then I turned dead serious and thanked him very much for his time and got the hell out of there. And within a couple of days, I got another company or partnership in South Africa. I mean, in Pretoria, I mean. A company with the name of Van Zyl, Leroux and Herter. One of the top law firms in Pretoria. I was very proud to have been able to get an interview with him. And the guy that I had the interview with was the senior partner, a gentleman with the name of Etienne Leroux. Anyhow, he made me an offer of 250 Rand a month, and I signed the contract, and I was a proud official of the court, an article clerk. Now, 250 Rand, even in those days, was not a lot of money. We called it a shoe allowance, because there was no such thing as an electronic system of filing, whether it's something that had to be filed at the deeds office or at the Supreme Court or at the Magistrates Court or at the Register of Companies, whatever. No, the article clerk had to physically walk there, go and do the filing, or retrieve documents that had to be collected. Of course, that's why your shoes didn't last very long, and the salary was referred to as a shoe allowance. Yeah. Now, one thing about that I must not forget, with your article of clerkship, if you're doing that, it is absolutely forbidden to do anything else, some moonlighting or whatever to supplement your income. You are an article clerk, all your attention and focus has to be on your law career. You were not allowed to moonlight. And if it came to light that you were moonlighting, you would be either refused to sit for the bar exam or be allowed or refuse to be allowed to practice as an attorney. They were very strict. So if you did have to have something to do and you can justify it, you just had to have it in writing from the Law Society so that it was on record that you were doing something else and earning a supplemental income. Yes, it's on. Now it was one of these, it was getting time for our annual officers' dinner, formal dinner. And, well, I was not going steady at the time, so I was in a predicament. I got to find a girl who I could take to this formal officers' dinner. And of course, the very first thought that came up to me was to call a very good friend of mine, childhood friend, darling Annette Eminis. I called Annette and I told her what the story was. I need somebody to go to me to this officer's dinner. I cannot go by myself. It cannot be done. She said she would love to go, but she cannot go as she has been signed up for a scuba diving course with Pretoria University at Sodwana Bay. But she said, wait a minute, she can maybe make a plan. And talked to a girl who was a classmate of her. Annette was already in her fourth and final year of studying history of art. And so she said, yes, there's a girl that she will contact and she will let me know what this girl says. Following morning, I got a call from Annette. She says, no, here's the phone number for a girl with the name of Tia Groevier, a classmate of her, fourth year student, history of art. She is working over weekends at such and such a coffee place, coffee house, or whatever. But, call her and make an appointment to go and see her. Obviously, it was just, to check me out and see if she was even willing to go with me. Did so, and I guess the impression I made was not too bad because Tia agreed to go with me to this formal dinner. Now, as I say, it's a formal dinner. Officers have to have their formal dinner attire, and girls have to wear their best of girly girls dresses, whatever you call it. Okay, then one snag came up. A day or three before the dinner, I came to the shocking conclusion that I had bought some fish and lobster a couple of days before, and I forgot some of the fish in the car, in the trunk of my car. So after 3 days in the hot Pretoria sun, that fish was probably just about done, if you can put it just about done, but it had a serious pong. Now, what I had to do was wash out the trunk of the car with soap and this and that. And I even emptied a bottle of Brut aftershave in that trunk. I don't think it helped because for me it still stank like to high heavens. I washed it again, put another bottle of Brut in that car. And then I gave up. It is what it is. Anyhow, when I told Tia beforehand, I said, I've got a problem. This is what it is. I can't get this stench out of the car. And was all taken in good spirits. And we went to the officers' dinner. And at least she didn't get out of the car and decided she was not going with me. And what? Okay, well, what I can say is I really liked Tia. We got along great. We seemed to appreciate the same things in life, but I had a lot to learn about art and artists and famous artworks and famous artists. But on the other hand, she didn't know anything about hunting and shooting and either, so she had a lot to learn about that. And at least she liked the biltong that I made, so that was one good thing. No, jokes aside, she was a girl with a lovely, outgoing personality. And, as I said, laughter was contagious. More dates followed between us, etc., etc. And when people ask me how we met, I tell them that we met via a mutual friend, Annette Eminis, who was my first girlfriend when I was 10 years old. And of course, that was the last of the whole situation. Tia and I got married on April 17, 1976. We were both 22. And in retrospect, so young. Too young. Okay, that's it.